All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, fuzziest concepts in any company. It's culture. It's super important, right? But also kind of hard to pin down. Today, we're diving into a platform called Enculture. It promises a smarter, more data-driven way to actually shape your culture. So how does it all work? Let's find out. So let's kick things off with a question that probably hits home for a lot of you. You know that annual company culture survey? The one that shows up in your email, you spend time filling it out, and then what happens? Usually nothing. It feels like your feedback just vanishes into some corporate black box, right? You're basically talking about problems from last year, and it just feels, well, broke. And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? The old way versus the Enculture way. The old way is all about looking backwards. Think annual surveys, a huge dump of data, and it's all totally disconnected from what the business is actually doing. But the Enculture way? That's about looking forward. It's about always listening, getting insights you can actually do something with, and, this is the big one, tying it all back to real business goals. It's less of an autopsy and more of a live EKG for your company.
Okay, so how does Enculture pull this off? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but powerful framework. It's built around 3 core ideas: listen, engage, and perform. This is the engine behind everything.
So first, you listen. That's all about gathering the right signals from all over the place. Then you engage. You've got to turn people from just survey takers into active participants. And finally, perform. This is where you connect all that culture stuff to real hard business results. Let's dig into each one.
So let's talk about listen. This goes way, way beyond just a simple survey. The best way to think about it is like a Fitbit for your entire organization, running 24/7. Yeah, it uses quick little pulse surveys, but it's also pulling in feedback from the places where work actually happens, like in Slack or Microsoft Teams. It's even smart enough to look at behavioral signals from your HR and sales software, and it's scanning public reviews on sites like Glassdoor. Then, the AI is sitting on top of all of that, looking for weird patterns or anomalies, basically spotting problems way before any person could. Okay, so you're listening, but how do you get people to actually, talk? That's where Engage comes in. This is all about getting people involved personally and at a huge scale. The system uses AI to weave stories out of the data, sends out little personalized nudges to encourage people to share their thoughts, and even uses some gamification to make it feel less like a chore. The whole point is to turn feedback from this once-a-year dread into a real, ongoing conversation. And that brings us to perform. And honestly, this might be the real game changer here. Enculture has this model where every single question they ask is designed to connect to a real business outcome. So check this out. You ask a question like, do I have opportunities for growth? The result isn't just a number. It directly informs your employee retention metric. You analyze open-ended feedback and boom, you get a forecast for who might be at risk of leaving. You measure psychological safety, and that connects directly to how innovative your teams are. This is how culture stops being this fuzzy, soft thing and becomes a hard, measurable driver of the business.
Now, you've heard me mention AI a few times. That's really the secret sauce that makes all of this work. So let's talk about how that AI-powered difference takes you from just looking at data to actually making decisions.
The core of this is something called predictive analytics, and it's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, the AI is constantly looking at all the data it's gathering, both new and old, to spot patterns and forecast what's coming next. It's like having the ability to see around corners. It can tell you, hey, this team has a high risk of people quitting, or this project looks like it's headed for trouble, or even engagement in this department is probably going to drop next month.
But here's the really crucial part. The AI doesn't just show you the data. It doesn't just wave a bunch of red flags in your face.
It tells you what to do about it. And that's the huge leap, right? It's moving beyond just reporting on a problem to actually recommending a solution. It's not just diagnosis, it's a prescription.
So you end up with this incredible AI assistant for culture. For example, you can just give it a business goal, and it'll generate the right survey questions for you. It hands managers these AI-suggested action plans that are tailored for their specific team. You can literally ask it questions in plain English, like, hey, why is engagement dipping in the sales department? And it'll find the answer. It even digs deep to find the real why behind the trends and can spot hidden biases in feedback that a human would totally miss.
Okay, that's the tech. But what does it actually feel like to use this thing day to day? Let's look at how different people in a company would actually interact with Enculture.
For the CEO, this is their command center. It's like having a real-time culture radar for the entire organization. They can look at these heat maps to see where things are hot and where they're not. And more importantly, they get those predictive alerts that let them spot an issue before it becomes a real business problem.
Now, what about a team manager? Well, for them, it's a lot more personal. It's basically like having an AI coach in their pocket. They don't have to be data wizards. The platform takes all that confidential feedback from their team and turns it into simple, actionable steps and coaching tips. It empowers them to actually build a better team, right there on the front lines.
And finally, what's in it for the employee? This is so important because it closes the loop. For them, it's about seeing that their feedback actually leads to change. They can give their thoughts anonymously, see the company-wide results, and see the action plans that come out of it. That builds a massive amount of trust. It proves their voice isn't just going into a void, it's actually being heard and acted on. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what's the big idea here? It's really about a fundamental shift in how a company thinks about its people and ultimately its performance. If you remember one thing, let it be this. Enculture is designed to move your organization from being reactive to being proactive. You stop spending all your time putting out yesterday's fires. Instead, you start anticipating tomorrow's opportunities and turning your culture into a real, measurable edge over the competition.
And that really leaves us with one final, pretty mind-bending question to think about. If you can listen all the signals, get people truly engaged, and connect it all to performance, well, then what if your company's culture wasn't some big mystery you had to solve? What if your organization's culture could actually tell you its own future?